Welcome back to my channel, Old, Alone, and Far From Home, and the seaside town of Vlorë, Albania. I have something a little different this time. I thought it might be interesting for you to see what it's like spending an entire day here as I continue to explore this place. I've been to Vlorë's charming Oldtown for a few minutes, but I want to go back and spend a little more time there. No big plans other than that, except to eat and drink and see what I can see. To start, I'll go back a couple of hours to how I begin every day here. My daily walk starts off on the promenade side of the street. The wide sidewalk and dedicated bike lane provide a perfect place for exercise away from traffic. This is only about 5 minutes from my Airbnb. It couldn't be more convenient. This first part of the walk, I'm facing into the sun. Depending on how early I get out, some portions are in the shade. Temperatures have been pleasant in the morning. It's usually in the lower 60s when I'm out here. Before going all the way to the turnaround point, I cross over to the ocean side as the promenade just turns into a sidewalk. At the tunnel, it's time to reverse course as I've reached the halfway point. The remainder of the journey is within a few meters of the sea. The entire walk is great, but this is probably the best part. Traveling along the Lungomare, the Mediterranean right beside you, doesn't get much better than that. I've never measured the distance, but based on the time that it takes me to complete the walk, I would say this is around a 6 mile out and back. I love that I get to start my day out here. I have showered and shaved, and now I'm ready to begin my journey over to Oldtown. I'm going down Boulevard Ismail Kamali. I'll let you know if I see something interesting along the way. The sidewalks heading from my place to Oldtown also give you lots of room. On one part of that path, the color of the surface is different. That is the lane that is dedicated for bicycles and scooters. You have to be watchful when crossing that lane as it gets an enormous amount of use. In the last video, I mentioned the large number of produce stands in the city. On this walk, I noticed quite a few flower stands as well. Even if you're not going to purchase any, the splash of different colors along the way is a treat. The route to Oldtown passes some familiar places. The Muradi Mosque, that 16th century structure that was built under Ottoman rule, sits in the middle of the street. The mosque and its 18-meter tall minaret are difficult to miss. Likewise, the Independence Monument, with its cool depiction of the way Albania came together to win independence from the Ottomans in 1912, stands tall in Flag Square. Speaking of independence, there is the House of Ekrem Bey. Born in Vlorë, Bey was a member of one of the wealthiest families in southern Albania and played a part in producing the Declaration of Independence for the country. It's said the Albanian flag was raised for the first time in the vicinity of this house. Since 1944, the house has seen various uses as a culture center, a library, and a museum. It is one impressive structure. After that flurry of history, the Oldtown district is just a couple of blocks farther. You know you're in Oldtown when the buildings become more colorful and the streets are for pedestrians only. While this is called Oldtown, most of the place is on the new side or has at least been recently renovated. On this Saturday morning, there were many people enjoying the area. I joined them by grabbing a seat on the plaza and ordering a drink at Sophie Cafe. That hits the spot. Cappuccinos aren't really what I usually drink at home, but that seems to be what I like most at the coffee shops around here. Sophie Cafe has numerous locations in Vlorë. I had stopped at another once before, and while it was okay, I didn't think it was anything special. This was much better, with the friendliness of the staff going a long way toward creating an inviting atmosphere. Based on what I had seen at a couple of the other locations, the cafe in Oldtown might be Sophie's best in the city. It's mostly restaurants and places to drink here in Oldtown, but there are a couple of shops. Let's see if we can go inside. A number of the shops in Oldtown are heavily aimed at the tourist crowd. Some of them sold souvenirs, and a couple of them had these blankets for sale. My favorite shop was the Galleria Art Cafe. While it was possible to get something to eat or drink here, the artwork that was on display was the star attraction. There were paintings and sculptures all over the interior. Most of the art looked to my untrained artistic eye to be of very high quality. Regardless, I liked what I saw. As I understand, the paintings are the work of the owner, and the figures were produced by his sculptor father. The place has a patio in back that contains artwork as well. Next, I wandered into a shop called Albania Vintage. This spot was quite interesting with all sorts of items for sale. The concentration appeared to be on clothing, and especially traditional Albanian clothing. Very nice. While Oldtown does not cover more than 4 or 5 blocks, it's very charming and attractive. I don't know if these adjacent areas are officially part of Oldtown, but they do have a similar look. Of note, the best fish market that I've seen thus far in the city is located right here. It appears to offer all that the Mediterranean provides just a few kilometers away. I'll get back to Oldtown in time for lunch. First though, there are a couple of places around here that I've heard of that I want to take a look at. We'll see if I can get inside. The first is the Town Hall. Situated at one end of a large plaza, this was constructed in 1918. What a striking building. With Italian-style architecture, this actually served as the Italian consulate for years. Under communist rule, it was repurposed as the Town Hall, and it serves as such today. This is the Ethnographic Museum, which is designed to tell the story of the people in this part of Albania. No video is allowed inside, but there were a number of artifacts displayed on the exterior. Not far away is Vlorë's History Museum. It tells the story of this region from the Bronze Age through the present day. No video again, but it is housed in a beautiful structure. Finally, I found the Bazani House, which is an old mill. It's said to be a museum and gets good reviews, but the place was all closed up when I stopped. The millstone, which matched up with photos I had seen of the museum, told me I was in the right place. That didn't go as well as I'd hoped, but it was pretty much exactly what I expected. Now I'm going to do something that I very rarely do, and that's to eat lunch, the things we do for video. There were many choices in Oldtown, but I selected the restaurant that is connected to the Agora Bed and Breakfast. Okay, I'll only go so far. Lunch is not going to be very much, but I am going to get a traditional dish. It's called fergesi. It is tomatoes, cottage cheese, peppers, olive oil, and spices. As has been the case, whenever I've been dining in Vlorë, the food comes out pretty quickly. Okay, time to check it out as it's here. I've always been a fan of cottage cheese and tomatoes. Let's see how this compares. Very good. It is really pepper forward, so a lot of red peppers in here, not hot at all, but very tasty. In my opinion, I made a good selection in terms of where to eat, and I pulled something off of the menu that I really enjoyed. One note about going out to eat in Vlorë, just about every place gives you the option to dine outside. That provided me the chance to welcome a little guest to the table. Cost for the bowl of goodness and 2 bottles of water, $6.30. That was a hearty bowl of food. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to eat the rest of the day. I did pay with cash there, even though they took credit cards. The cash here is the lek, and 1 lek is equal to about 1 penny. So this is a 5,000 lek note. It is worth about $50. So that is sort of the currency that I'm dealing with here. It's always a good idea to carry some local currency with you whenever you are traveling in another country. That might be especially true here in Albania, as credit cards are not as widely accepted as they are in many other countries. There's one more thing that I want to take a look at while I'm in this part of the city. I'm going to a town called Gjirokastër in just a little over a week, and I'm taking a bus. The bus stations are a little strange around here, so I wanted to see exactly where that's going to leave from, because it leaves at 6:30 a.m. With assistance from Google Maps and a couple of other posts on the internet, I was able to find the stop from which my bus will leave. There it is, Gjirokastër, 1 departure each day at 6:30 a.m. I have not seen any centralized bus stations in Albania, just places along the road where vans and buses wait for riders. The people there are friendly and helpful. It gives me some comfort going to a location such as this at least one time before I have to be there. The bus stop is just a short distance away from Oldtown, so after I found it, back I went. This time, I stopped by the Komiteti bar. As if you couldn't tell, I stopped for a beer. I came to this place on the advice of the guy I'm renting the Airbnb from. He said this is one of the places you need to go, and one of the reasons is this outside courtyard. It is really fantastic. It was a flavorful beer in a great setting. Only two problems, however. It was the first place in Vlorë that I'd been bothered by mosquitoes, and the bottle was $5, double what I had paid anywhere else in the city. I drank quickly, because of the mosquitoes, not the price. Through Bulgaria and Albania, everywhere I looked, there have been gelato stands. I had resisted long enough, so a little while later, I dropped into Rollo's Gelateria. The gelato was waiting in a cart on the backside of the building.
Enjoy.
The flavor I chose is lemon. Oh wow, sweet and tart, very good. I can become addicted. That was a great choice. One scoop in a cup. Refreshing, but not filling. And it costs $1. There will be more gelato in my future. My time in Oldtown is finished, and now I'm heading back towards the apartment. One more thing that I'd like to do before I get back there, and that's something that I've been waiting for since August. Need a little bit of a haircut. Let's see if I can find a barber. It wasn't hard to find a barber whatsoever. This one was just steps from the apartment building in which my Airbnb is situated. It's called the Mario Barber Shop. There was no waiting and very little trouble navigating the language difference. In virtually no time, a fresh haircut. There you go, not bad. I guess that's probably the best $5 haircut I've had since I was a kid. I'm gonna go sit down and relax for a little bit, then find a place to have dinner. It is not easy deciding on where to eat, as there are so many options close to where I am staying. I opted for a place around the corner called Taverna Talilo. My order consisted of a starter and an entree of seafood spaghetti. Again, I was able to eat outside. So the food got here really quickly. What I've got here is a soup. It says soup with meat, so let's try it. Oh, really nice, flavorful broth. There's big chunks of meat in here too. Pretty tasty. I'll get to the spaghetti in just a few moments. It was a big bowl, and there was plenty of meat included. I wasn't going to mention anything more about the soup, but then I discovered the bread that they brought with it. Dunk that into the broth. Oh man, it takes it to another level. I typically try not to eat too much bread, but combining it with the broth tested my resolve. In short order, the soup was gone, and it was time to move on to the main course. My seafood spaghetti. It's loaded down with shrimp, fish, mussels, and some octopus. Let's try it. Very good. A little bit of spice, but too much. Had a little octopus that time, so that was really good. I felt I did a good job once more of selecting from the menu. My meal of the big bowl of soup with meat and spaghetti packed with seafood came to $11.30. That's it, a day here in Vlorë. It's such a great city, and I hope you were able to get a better feel for it from what I was able to show you today. As for me, I learned some things and experienced some new places. For the most part, that's what life is like for me here in Albania. Each day might not be packed full of activity like this was a vacation. Instead, I have the luxury of spending weeks here. So I look at this as just where I live at the moment. Thanks for watching. I'll have another new video for you next week. Oh, one final stop before calling it a day. If in Vlorë, I would suggest everyone make it down to the Mediterranean at the end of the day. Sitting on the steps and watching the sun sink lower is always a treat. Listening to the sound of the sea and taking in the colorful sky never gets old.